Good morning, guys. I'm Gavin, one of the technicians here at Ostar Motorsports, and I wanted to walk you through a very important service item that we like to do on these newer BMWs. So on this 2021 BMW M5 today, we're going to be doing a transmission service. So this, like many of the newer BMWs, has the ZF 8 HP transmission. So with this kit, we have brand new filter, gasket, and our fill and drain plugs. So the tools you're going to need for this, we have a T40 Torx bit. This is going to be to remove all of the lower pan bolts. We have a 14mm Allen. This is going to be removing our fill plug. And then we have a 5mm Allen for our drain plug. Next up, we have 7 quarts of this ZF lifetime fluid. BMW recommends that you keep this fluid for a lifetime. However, we recommend that you change your transmission fluid every 60 to 80,000 miles for preventative maintenance. All right, so first step, we're going to go ahead and drain our transmission fluid. So with this 5mm Allen on a 3/8 ratchet, I'm going to go ahead and pull our drain plug. So what I like to do with these cars, the fluid level tends to vary, so I like to catch my fluid in a pan just to make sure that the same amount goes back in and it matches the specification. Crack the plug loose. There it is. Fluid looks pretty good. A lot of times, higher mileage, you see this fluid get really dark, but you can tell this customer is changing his transmission fluid on time. All right, so with all the transmission fluid drained out, I'm gonna go ahead and reinsert our brand new drain plug and torque it down to 10 Newton meters. Now I'm going to go ahead and break loose all of our 14 T40 Torx bits. This is what holds on this lower steel oil pan, aluminum oil pan. Always crack these by hand, and then you can go by with a impact afterwards to get them out quickly. I'm going to leave one bolt in on either side just so the pan doesn't fall down on my face. Okay. I'm going to drop it. Okay, with all the bolts removed, go ahead very carefully with both hands, drop our whole pan. You'll see there's still a little bit of fluid in there, but not much. Can put this aside for later. So now underneath this pan, we have our replaceable filter. We'll pop a new filter on and then insert the pan with a new gasket. All right, so here's our drop-in filter. This whole thing just pops right out with a little bit of lovely fluid on my hands. So it's very important to replace the filter inside these transmissions after a certain amount of mileage. They tend to get caked up. Here is a magnet that catches a lot of these oil particles or sorry, metal particles that will eventually just wear out within the transmission. But it's always a good idea to replace your filter internally while you're in here, just out of preventative maintenance. So with the transmission pan removed, before I go ahead and install the pan with a new gasket, I always like to take a Scotch-Brite pad and just clean off all this aluminum and make sure the mating surface is perfectly clean. All right, so I'm going to install the new ZF filter. I'm going to go ahead and get my finger wet with a little bit of brand new fluid. Put this on the O-ring so there's no chance of it catching when it goes in. Insert it into the hole. I'm going to very gently pop it in. It sits just like that. So here's a little trick I like to do with a lot of these gaskets. This works great for oil pan gaskets. So I'm just going to go ahead and put a zip tie through each side so the filter stays in, or so the gasket stays in place. And then once I reinstall it, I'll go ahead and snip the zip ties when I go to tighten the bolts down. So reinstalling the pan, I'm just going to grab a few of our brand new bolts. Go ahead and line up the pan. Make sure our filter is sitting where it needs to be. And then we'll go ahead and rise that up there. Once all of our bolts are started, I'm just going to go very gently with an impact and slightly snug them all down. These bolts are only torqued to 4 Newton meters and then 45 degrees. So it's a very light torque spec. All right, so first round of torque is going to be 4 Newton meters. We're going to go in a crisscross pattern. Start on this right front. Okay, so now we're going to move on to our second degree of torque, which is going to be 45 degrees on all of these bolts. So they are steel bolts, but they're torque to yield, meaning they stretch when you use them. So we always replace them, and it's always very important to torque them to spec, especially when you have an aluminum to aluminum surface like this pan. So what I've gone ahead and done is done a paint mark here, and then a paint mark right at about 45 degrees. So we'll go ahead and stretch this bolt to that 45 degree point. There we go. Once all the bolts are torqued, and I like using those paint marks because then I can see which ones were torqued and which ones were not. Now I'm going to go through with some brake clean and just clean off all of the excess fluid that spilled, and then we can begin our filling process. All right, so here I have a drain pan with all of our old fluid. So I'm going to go ahead and dump it into this measuring cup just to see how much fluid came out. So looks like here we pulled right about 5 liters. Seems a little bit low, but we're going to follow the ZF procedure to fill and check the fluid. So now on to filling this 8 HP. So the initial fill is going to be about 5 quarts or 5 liters, and the temperature of this transmission really matters when you're filling it, and I'll show you why.
Hey guys, Fernando here from Ostar. So Gavin's taking care of that initial fill on this transmission service for the M5, and I want to take a minute to talk to you guys of why this customer chose to come here rather than go to a dealership. Well, it's very simple. It's probably costing him half the price. He's still taken care of with OEM parts. He's still getting all the service done by the book, and so you know, who wouldn't? I mean, you're gonna save half the cost and still get your baby taken care of, then why not? But yeah, if you want something along the lines of this, or brakes, or anything else, we do carry all OEM components. We do have some aftermarket if you choose to go that route, but we carry the parts if you want to do it at home, so you can call us and get pricing for that. So I'm going to let Gavin continue on, show you guys how this process is done in case you want to do it yourself or if you want to bring it here. But remember, take a look at our description. It's going to have all our contact info if you want to have more information, you want to get in contact with us, and I'll let Gavin take it away.
All right, so now beginning the initial fill, I pumped about 5 liters into this little filling device, and then we have our fill plug is located right up here. So the initial fill, I'm going to do roughly 4 liters. I'm going to drop the car down, plug in a scan tool, and read our temperature, because that's going to very much matter how much the fluid level will actually show. So go ahead and squeeze in a little bit. Okay, so with the initial fill done, I put roughly 4.5 liters in there, or until the fluid starts pouring out of the fill plug. So I reinserted the fill plug. We're going to lower the car down, read the transmission fluid temperature, because again, that is vital for getting the fluid level correct. All right, so with the car now on the ground, we have our Altel plugged in. This is the temperature of our transmission fluid. So currently it's 54 degrees Celsius, which is a little bit too hot to get the perfect level. We're looking for anywhere from 40 to 45 degrees Celsius is usually where I go. So we're going to put some fans underneath, let the transmission fully cool off, and then we can correct our fill. So we're going to have some fans set up here to go ahead and correct our transmission fluid level. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up the video here. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next one for many more services on other European vehicles. Thank you.